how do you define success?
Honestly, for me, it's just a really high quality of life. Like, I love the work I do and I'm really passionate about it, but also it doesn't define who I am. I also love to travel and bake and cook and exercise and like read books and explore. And so for me, success is really helping incredible entrepreneurs build their business, like build the business of their dreams, essentially. Have time for me and my family and travel. Like last year, I took 9 weeks off and my business grew by 34%. And I was like, this is success to me. Like, I'm not necessarily chasing a certain revenue number. I'm just trying to live in alignment in a way that feels good, that doesn't feel chaotic or hustly. That's just like, here's what I'm doing, here's how I'm spending my time. And I feel really content, at peace, fulfilled.
Hi, I'm Leslie Silverman, and I thrive on deep, honest conversations with entrepreneurs about how we show up as the truest version of ourselves, both personally and professionally. Because when we let our light shine, we give others permission to do the same. This is a category of one. Jessica Millhiser is the owner of J.Mills Consulting, where she helps entrepreneurs build businesses that are clear, organized, and intentional. Known for her ability to blend strategy with empathy and intuition, Jessica helps service-based owners grow businesses that are easier to run, more fulfilling to lead, and allow them to step away. With 20 years of hospitality, operational, and leadership experience, and a master's degree in coaching and administration, Jessica brings a practical, thoughtful approach to every client relationship. She cares deeply about the people she works with and believes that clarity and compassion are key to a successful business. Originally from Vermont, Jessica has lived in DC and Los Angeles and now calls Colorado home. Here's my conversation with Jessica. Hey, Jessica, thanks so much for coming on today.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Leslie.
As you know, here on a category of one, we just like to sort of hop right in and have open conversations. But I do think after just reading your amazing intro that it's fun to hear who you help, how you help them. And I always like the little twist of what makes you a category of one. Like, how are you doing what you do a little bit differently, maybe than other people that show up in your space?
Yes, and it's funny because I've actually been doing a lot of reflection in this space lately, always kind of trying to refine how I'm sharing about my work. As we all know, it's an ever evolving language. Um, but I guess for what I will say is what I do is I really help people expand their capacity for growth. And additionally, what that means is helping them to build the foundation of their business so that there's more order and less chaos so that they can stay in their zone of genius and stop worrying about like the logistics and the structure of the business. It's my job to diagnose what's going on and then either help them fix it or make it better. So it's all about kind of that internal structure piece.
And so I've heard you use the phrase, it's a foundation for
Mhm.
the other things. And I love that so much because in my brand strategy, I like to paint a picture for people. So I use the analogy a lot of having a brand, having clarity around your brand, which is
Mhm.
so much more than just your logo,
Yeah.
is a foundation. Having a strong website that functions and tells your story is a foundation.
Mhm.
And then the walls and the roof
Mhm.
of said house can be SEO or Google AdWords or social media, or people will come to me and be like, I need XYZ. And I'm like, well, you don't want to
Mhm.
put up walls and a roof on a shaky foundation. So knowing how you operate, it seems like that's like a strong part of the foundation of a business. Do you just work with female entrepreneurs? Is that your niche and your favorite folks to support?
My real niche is actually service-based businesses. So coaches, consultants, creatives, anybody in the service-based space. And what I really think I actually want to be known for is I really want to be known for helping people bring hospitality back to the forefront of their business and also helping business owners slow down enough so that they can actually design, shape, and grow their business with more intention. I've been doing a lot of reflection, and I think those two pieces are
Mm.
so important for me, to me, and I'd really like to be known for helping people in both of those spaces.
I love what you said about the slowing down piece. I've had this conversation lately with more than one person
Mhm.
about hustle culture. And
Yes.
more does not mean better, or more does not mean more aligned. And so sometimes I'll talk to my clients about, who was your favorite? Tell me about your favorite ever client. And I say to them, that does not mean it was your highest paying client
Right.
or your biggest client, but your favorite. And so looking at that as entrepreneurs, yes, a lot of times revenue and bottom line obviously are our focus, but
Mhm.
also how can we bring more quality not only to our clients but to our day and our
Yeah.
life. And why are we entrepreneurs in the first place if we don't want to have that quality? So I love
Yeah.
the concept of slow intentionality,
Mhm.
because then you can still have that
Yes.
outcome you want, but it's more in alignment.
Yeah, and I really feel like we get trapped in the go, 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 do, more, 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 achieve, achieve, achieve. And I feel like that puts us in a spinning wheel. It's like, well, what are we actually chasing? And how long are we going to continue to chase XYZ thing? When in fact, maybe you just want to hit a certain revenue. Maybe you want to hit a certain work life balance. Maybe you want to create space to take more time off. Like, how are you defining success for yourself? Because that, at the end of the day, should be what you're quote unquote chasing. And then once you hit that, be like, am I good? Does this feel good? Am I content? Am I at peace? Am I fulfilled? Or is there like a next iteration and next evolution? And really, again, thinking about it intentionally rather than just chase, chase, chase.
Yeah. How do you define success?
I knew you were going to ask me that question. Um, Honestly, for me, it's just a really high quality of life. Like, I love the work I do and I'm really passionate about it, but also it doesn't define who I am. Like, I also love to travel and bake and cook and exercise and like read books and explore. And so for me, success is really helping incredible entrepreneurs build their business, like build the business of their dreams, essentially. Have time for me and my family and travel. Like last year, I took 9 weeks off and my business grew by 34%. And I was like, this is success to me. Like, I'm not necessarily chasing a certain revenue number. I'm just trying to live in alignment in a way that feels good, that doesn't feel chaotic or hustly. That's just like, here's what I'm doing, here's how I'm spending my time. And I feel really content, at peace, fulfilled.
Yeah. And we have to be able to identify what that is and give ourselves permission to own it, claim it, want it, and love it
Yes.
before we can make a plan on how to achieve it.
Right.
And every time, every time I don't trust my intuition and
Mhm.
I take a client that doesn't feel aligned or overbook my schedule in a way that I know is not supportive to my definition of success,
Yeah.
which is fairly similar to yours. Like, I have a very large commitment to my self care routine, and that includes my mornings. And so I'm on a rare occasion, I'll do calls at 8 a.m., but I really try to not start my work day until 9:30. I mean,
Yeah.
I like to wake up circadian rhythm style, get outside, I work out, I walk, I do all the things I wanna do,
Yeah.
how I wanna spend
Personal
my morning.
boundaries, personal priorities, really
Mm,
prioritizing your time.
yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
because then you can show up in just such a more aligned way for your clients and, uh, give them the best parts of you,
And
and
that's
it
funny that you say
more
that. I'm actually thinking of my friend, shout out Noor. But she builds her business. She works 3.5 days a week. She takes Wednesdays off. Her and her wife travel regularly. Like, she's built her business around her definition of success.
Yeah.
And she's thriving. She has a thriving chiropractic practice. Um, anyway, she just really came to mind when we were talking about this. So
Yeah.
it is totally doable. You just have to design it. You have to shape it. You have to be intentional, and you have to be committed.
Yeah. So for people listening who are saying, yeah, right, easier said than done, tell me what your client journey looks like. If somebody comes to you and says, I want more freedom and ease, and I want to work like that, and I want to plan what my version of success looks like. How do you help me do that for my business? What does that look like? Or if you prefer to tell it in a story version, like if you have a recent client, you don't have to name names if there's privacy, but you could tell it like, oh, so and so who was a architect came to me and here's what we did for them, or whichever approach feels better for you.
So basically you're asking like how I support people when we're working together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I kind of have two primary prongs to my business. One of my prongs is specifically strategic planning. So my strategic planning prong, it is a year-long program. And we meet every month. And it's very much all about intentionality, strategy for the next year. What do you want to be true by December of next year? And let's work backwards to make sure you're achieving that, right? And then we're meeting monthly for accountability, consistency, follow up, real time pivots and adjustments. The second prong of my work is really related to what I call projects. And this is where we work on client experience, client journey. This is where we work on extracting what's in your head and getting it documented. We're talking like process mapping and all of that stuff. And also work around delegation, planning and preparation, scaling assurance, right? Like if you want to grow, scale, or sell, you need to have these operations out of your head, onto paper, all of that stuff. So that's kind of the project arm of the business. So it depends on what somebody's coming to me for. Certainly, we would have a free consultation and chat through that. But then really identifying what's the scope of work. What do you want to be true? How do you want to be living? What are your boundaries? What are your thresholds? A lot of it is around time and calendar management. And so if you're in a space where you're like, oh, I'd love to start making shifts, it's now the end of April. Probably the shift isn't going to happen in May, but maybe you can say, I only want to take client calls on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday starting in June. Can you shape your June calendar going forward to only take client calls Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? Or like maybe you already know that Q2 is pretty booked. Okay, can you start this transition in Q3? That would be July. So just making it realistic within your current bandwidth, within your current commitment levels. Where can you start? You just kind of have to identify what that is and just start taking action.
Yeah, and so a lot of what you do is systems based, correct?
Yes, systems based, but not tech. So there's a little bit of mm, clarifying language around that. So, like, I really help you figure out how you want your business to function, how you want the logistics to work. And we figure that out first. And a lot of that is super simple, like collaborative sessions where I'm asking you a bunch of questions, I'm documenting it on Word doc, keeping it really simple. And once we identify how you want your business to actually operate, we can figure out what tech makes sense. Like, obviously, if we're trying to implement a scheduling or a booking calendar, let's do that together. If you're trying to implement some kind of payment processor, let's do that together. If you're trying to implement a project management platform or a CRM, that is probably something I would either start helping you with and then maybe outsource, because I don't really get into the tech. I help you figure out how you want things to work first so you know which tech to get and what you actually need it to do.
So when you mentioned bringing hospitality back into your business, I thought that was really interesting because I have a hospitality background from way back,
Hmm.
as do you. And I've always joked with my children who both did literal hospitality service jobs. I'm like,
Hmm.
everyone should be a waiter or a waitress at one time in their life so they know how to treat people. And so
Hmm.
people who have that in their background know the life skills that come from that work to
Hmm.
apply elsewhere. But I love that you're bringing that thread in. And obviously, you're not talking to hospitality
Correct.
industry businesses, you're talking to how we do the common everyday things
Yes.
and how to bring hospitality, and I haven't heard it worded like that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually gave a talk a couple weeks ago called Beyond Service: The Power of an Intentional Client Journey. But really, the through line was if you're a business owner, if you're an entrepreneur, like you're in hospitality. It is
Mhm.
your job to make sure that your clients feel seen, heard, valued, and appreciated, and that their experience logistically is seamless, is smooth, is operationally efficient, right? So it's really kind of, I call it sort of twofold, right? You've got the operational logistics on the back end, how they actually move through the business, but you've got the client facing side on the front. Everything you do in the back of your business is going to directly impact how your client experience is working with you on the front. So if you think about how you're designing your business, what your communications are, what your frequency of communications are, how they move through working with you through the lens of the client experience, that will already put you way above most other businesses because you're working from a client centered space.
Do you feel like people who come to you who have a little time under their belt are a better fit because then they know what they do and don't know? You know what I'm
Yes,
asking?
yeah, yeah. Like,
Sometimes when people are a blank page and they come to me and they're like, I want to start a business. And I think what you and I do, there's maybe this much overlap. Like I'm
sure.
holding my fingers up like a centimeter for those just listening. We have
Yeah.
a tiny bit of overlap. I think we have more philosophical overlap than actual assets and deliverables. We're actually quite complementary in the services we offer.
Yes,
But I
definitely.
think people who've done it for a hot minute, sometimes I tell people, you think that's what your dream client is. You think that's what your dream service
Right.
offering is, but go do it. And then let's talk about your brand, your ideal client profile, your website, how you want to present. What,
Yeah, I think for me, like if you're at least a couple years in, like that's probably a really good place.
yeah.
Um I have a soft spot for people that are just starting because I'm like, let me help you build the foundation from the ground up and like get you going on the right foot. But they still have so much to kind of like work through, figure out, determine, whatever. So usually it's around the couple yearish mark that they really start to feel grounded in what they're doing and what they're offering and kind of what that looks like. That then I can really come in and be like, cool, like let's get clearer. Let's get more efficient. Let's bring hospitality back in. Let's start documenting how you're doing things. Like, are you thinking about maybe hiring help? Let's start creating those assets, right? So I would say, yeah, probably at least around the couple year mark is a good place to start um, my work, I would say.
Yeah. Do you have a story that comes to mind of a client? I think sometimes that helps people visualize or see themselves in that person's shoes, maybe of a business you've supported and kind of what they came to you with and what came out of it?
Yes, I have several. Okay, I guess one, I've got a couple gals on my strategic planning program right now. One of them is doing my strategic planning program and she's doing a project block. And she's trying to basically scale her business. She's got a small team. She's really trying to make sure that she's able to remove herself from the business a bit more. So we've actually done a lot of work around getting her processes and procedures out of her head and onto paper. And also, we've done some revamping in terms of still serving the right clients. And what we found was she's beginning to level up. And some of the clients she's serving are not really the right fit anymore. So we're having conversations around, okay, if you're trying to make this much revenue, if you're trying to work with this many clients at this monthly rate, what's going to happen to these 5 or 10 clients that are really no longer the right fit? Really kind of restructuring her current offerings and then giving those clients the opportunity to either self retract or level up with her because that means their businesses are growing as well. So we've done really a lot of back end infrastructure in terms of what she's offering, how she's offering it, who's actually an ideal client for her now, and what she wants to have accomplished by the end of this year, which is really the ability for her to be more hands off starting in 2027. So there's a lot of back end work going into it. And sometimes she's like, Jess, oh my God, why am I doing this? I'm like, well, you're doing this because you want to be able to be hands off more next year. You want to focus on other passions, other projects, other side hustles, and you need your business to be able to operate without you. And in order for it to operate without you, we need to do this, this, and this. So that's what we're working on this year. And
And
I love it. I find it really satisfying. And she's like, I can see it. Like, I can see how it's taking shape. I can see how this is going to help me next year. I can see how I'll be able to grow my team and put somebody in this place. Right. Because another step for her would be hiring basically a quality control person or like a director of ops type of person so that they can kind of oversee the day to day and she can kind of remove herself even further from that.
that's so cool. So you really get right into the nitty-gritty of even helping them decide who this is the role you need to hire
Yes.
for, and this is what their responsibilities can be. And the price thing is so goes along with that hustle conversation through
Yes.
line, I think. I think we as entrepreneurs, and I don't want to be a generalist and speak for all of us, I will say I as an entrepreneur have struggled but then successfully overcome that
Mhm,
feeling of if I raise my prices, I
mhm.
will lose my clients. But really, the answer to that is great. If you are up leveling and there are people who don't choose to up level with you,
Mhm,
then there are other people who are doing services perhaps at a lower price point that are more aligned for that vendor
mhm.
and that client. And then I always say I'm a partner, not a vendor. And so people who want that level of partnership and involvement and
Yeah.
next level service
Mhm.
are happy to change their price. And I have this conversation sometimes with clients too, just because even when we're doing things like website and talking about service offerings, if you're being true to understanding the value and the worth of what you offer the world
Yes.
and charging for it, your people will come. And sometimes you need to let go of the ones that maybe aren't aligned anymore.
Yeah, and that's tough, right? Like, we've all been there. I hit 5 years in business, earlier this year, and I have what I have learned is that pricing and packaging will constantly evolve. There is no set it and forget it. There is no, this is my price and this is my package and this is what it's going to be for the next 10 years. No, it's probably going to change next year. So, A, get comfortable with the fact that it will continue to evolve as you continue to evolve. So, that's just, I think, part of the game. And then also, I've had to let clients go because they were no longer the right fit. It is really scary in the moment. You're like, oh my God, I'm going to be losing X amount of money per month or whatever it is. That feels really scary. But you know what almost always happens? You find a more aligned client like
Yes.
fairly soon, right? And so then you're doing more aligned work. You're feeling more fulfilled and you're moving away from the hourly and into the more value based pricing. And I think that's a really tough piece for people to get out of. Obviously, it depends on your business. Obviously, it depends on your industry. But I recently made that shift. I want to say towards the end of last year, I finally said, I'm doing it. I'm not doing it this way anymore. I'm doing it this way The work didn't change. Honestly, the amount of time I invested didn't really change. It was all about how I framed the offer. So just think about how you're framing your offer. Just know that it's always going to feel a little uneasy, but you're making room for more aligned clients and more aligned work.
So I
Mhm.
work with a lot of service-based businesses as well. And the whole time for money commodity is just a line of thinking that will keep you stuck in that vendor mindset because there will only be so many hours in a day. So
Yeah.
if you're just exchanging time for money, that is a totally different business model than the
Yes.
value of the outcome, right? So
Yes.
we are selling the outcome. We are not selling, I will write ops paperwork and help you
Right.
do this for 10 hours a month. You are selling, I will help you scale your business to a place where you can do the parts that you love, work less, create the life that you want, and have the freedom and the revenue in
Yes. I
X
love
number
how
of
you
days a
just said
week.
that. I'm like,
Boom.
"Ooh, I'm gonna have to write
Priceless.
write how Leslie just said that down, because that's literally it." Yes.
And yeah,
Yes.
and it is. It's a shift for us as the ones
Correct.
driving the bus
Yes.
to welcome those people on our bus who understand where we're going. I have a little metaphor I do in one of my talks
Uh-huh.
that literally shows people on a road trip. And it's like, look, you have to make sure that anyone who's coming along on your road trip
Yes.
wants to go where you're going, right? Listens to the same music as you and likes your
Yeah.
snacks. Because when you say no to that person,
Yeah.
you might feel bad leaving them on the street corner. And then what happens is they get in a car that's going to the destination they want to go that has their snacks and their
Yeah.
kind of music, and everybody wins. So that has been a hard learned lesson in entrepreneurship to
And
say no
I think that's always going to
to
I
work.
think it's always gonna feel that way to an extent, right? Because entrepreneurship is tough,
Yeah.
man. Like, it's a tough gig.
Yeah.
One of the things that I heard fairly recently was don't set your pricing to what you would pay for. Set your pricing to what your actual target audience would pay for. So I think some of us get caught in like, well, I would never pay that
Mm,
much for X. But like, am I my ideal client? Probably not. So, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
think about who your ideal
Right.
client is
Yeah.
and put your rates at a place that feels fitting for that audience instead.
100%. And another thing on pricing, which is just a relevant story that popped to mind. So I'll share. I have a friend who is
Hmm.
a professional photographer, and she did more like weddings and baby and family photography for a long time. And I have sent her a couple brand photography projects. And she has said, oh, well, how much should I charge for 4
Right.
headshots? It only took me this much time and then this much time to edit. And I'm like, okay, hang on a second. It took you
Yes.
20 years to learn how to take a perfect headshot in 5 minutes and then
Hmm.
edit it in Photoshop in 5 minutes, right? You're an expert at the software, the hardware of your camera, the lighting, the angle, how the person stands,
Yes.
all of your learning and expertise. Because if the person could take their own headshot at that quality, they
Yeah.
wouldn't even have come to you for it. And so remembering that to get out of our own way with that, and that coupled with the you're not your own ideal client, it doesn't matter if you would pay for that or not.
Hmm.
And I would add one more layer. Stay
Yeah.
out of other people's wallets because sometimes I'll get in my own head about a project and be like, this is how much it needs to cost.
Right.
And then I'm like, can that person
Yeah.
afford it? And
And
I'm
I
like,
think one
whoa,
more
whoa,
thing to
whoa.
that is just start somewhere, right? Like it's going to be constantly evolving. Just start somewhere. See how it goes for 6 or 12 months. raise the price again if that feels appropriate, right? You just have to start
Yes.
somewhere, start getting the data, getting the information, and
Yes.
then you can make adjustments as you go. Nothing is set in stone.
And it's like a trust muscle,
Mhm.
right? When you show yourself, I mean, even in athletics, when you show yourself that you can use a certain
Mhm.
weight to do a certain exercise, and then when you try the heavier weight and
Mhm.
you didn't know you could, and then you show yourself you could, and then you have a new PR, like that's the same thing I think with charging for a service, that if you don't think someone's going to pay you that
Mhm.
amount for it and you do it and the person does and they love it
Look
and
at
they're
your new
thrilled and they
PR.
can't wait to give you money, then you're like, oh, yeah, yeah, exactly. Right. It's a good, I don't know.
Love
I'm
it.
like feeling analogies extra today. Um, so in your bio, you used the word intuition, and that is such a
Mhm.
huge part of who I am and such a
Mhm.
huge part of my journey
Yeah.
is trusting myself and breaking away from the industry status quo and not worrying about doing it the same way everybody else is doing it, because that is the phrase "a category of one" came up for me when I was in brand strategy sessions with clients and saying, that one piece you do, or
Mhm.
that way you trust yourself, that makes you a category of one. And we all are, just by the nature of being human. But talk to me a little bit about how you use intuition and how you make your business choices, and what makes you feel like your
Yeah,
own
so
category of
I
one, how you
think
stand apart.
I use that word kind of a few different ways. When I'm working with my clients, all of my work is one-on-one. I don't do any group programs or anything like that because I really feel like everybody's business is unique, everybody's needs are unique. The way that people think and operate and run their business is unique. So I'm never going to force a certain way or strategy or tactic on anyone. My job is to figure out you. Who are you? What is your business? How do you operate? And how can we shape it, design it, fix it, improve it, whatever, in a way that works for you? And a lot of that is through conversation, through dialogue, through research, through question asking, just really kind of getting to the heart of who you are, what you do, how you help, and how I can help make that better. So that's, I think, kind of one way. The other way is really like internally. I'm a very analytical, data driven, logistical person, but I also have a really strong empathic side, compassionate side, hospitality side, and I very much make not all decisions, but a fair amount of decisions based on my gut. So I really try to lean into that both for myself and my business decisions, but also leaning into that with whoever my client is in that moment and how to improve their business based on whatever our goals are. So I think that's how I incorporate it pretty much regularly.
I think it's important for all of us to bring that in to who we are
Mhm.
professionally and personally, right? Because when we can,
Mhm.
again, with that trust
Yeah.
muscle reference, trust ourselves, and we see that the way we take chances or the way we show up different, also our vibe attracts our tribe.
Yes,
I think
that sounds
Danette
like a
might have
Jeanette
said that the
phrase.
other day, who was on an earlier episode that I was just editing yesterday, so we could uh, mention hers when people are like, "Who's Danette?" But yeah, I think sometimes I
Mhm.
used to think I had to play small because I'm loud and I have a very
Mhm.
gregarious presence. And what I have found is there's
Yes.
people who love that about me the most, and that's what makes them want
Yeah.
to be around me. So that's my people. And if it's not for some
and I
people,
think also
like,
think
that's
about like
cool.
how you're feeling. Like your body knows. Your body tells you like when something feels good or something doesn't feel good. Or like you feel stressed or it's like a bad push or it's like a good push, right? Because there's a difference. Like sometimes you need to push yourself, but is this like a good push and you're like feeling into it? Or is this the bad push and you're feeling like constricted or restricted or like, I call it the anxiety shakes. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is not for me. This is not the thing.
Yeah.
But, really listening,
Yeah.
having the awareness, right? And part of that is through my own life experiences. I've had certain life experiences that were very intuitive decisions that were very like, okay, can I swear? I'm going to swear. Fuck it. Like, we're just going for it, right? um,
Swear. Share one. Share a personal life experience where you
Sure.
really
Okay.
leaned into your
So
intuition if you're
I'm originally
comfortable.
from Vermont. I've lived in DC. I've lived in Los Angeles, and now I live in Colorado. My move from DC to Los Angeles was 100% intuition. So I was in DC. I'm going to try to keep this kind of tight. I was in DC about 3 years, got into a terrible relationship the last year. It was really toxic, really just no bueno on all levels. And we had the same circle of friends. I couldn't escape it. I needed some kind of out. My buddy who lives in California, who lives in Los Angeles, he was like, hey, Jess, like I need a new roommate next month. Do you want to come? And I was like, let me sleep on it. And I texted him the next morning and was like, I'm in. And it was like less than 24 hours of me being like, the universe is presenting an opportunity. I feel like this is my
Ooh, I just
out,
got the
my move. This is the move I need to be making. So I left DC within 30 days and it was the best decision I had ever made for myself. And I didn't even really think about it too much. I just felt into it. I was like, this is it. This is what I need. I'm going. And I look back and I'm like, had I chosen to stay, my life would be so different. I went to LA. I met my husband. I got my master's. We ended up moving to Colorado. I'm now an entrepreneur, right? Like so many pivotal moments stemmed from that. Yes. Right. And it was scary. And at the time, I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? But I knew it was right. And sometimes you just really have to listen to those moments and have the awareness to recognize when the universe is presenting an opportunity.
mic drop. I feel like that's a perfect place to just go, okay, we're good. Thank you so much. I love how you talk about your business. I love how you show up authentically. And I love how you combine your data-driven, structured operations brain with your intuitive, spiritual, listen to the universe parts. I love the dichotomy
Oh, thank you.
that is J.Mills. And we will link in the show notes all the ways to talk to Jessica. But if you are a service-based business owner, not just female entrepreneurs, if you are a service-based business owner who knows you're looking to grow or scale or up level or something feels off, just do a free consult with her. If nothing else, you'll have a lovely conversation and she can let you know if it is in alignment.
Yeah, I would love that.
for her
And
to
I think
support
one
your
of the
journey.
links was to my free operations audit. So like if anybody's interested in just like taking the audit, diagnosing, doing DIYing some of it or being like, "Oh, let me talk to Jess." Like would highly recommend, would love for you to take it. I built that resource for you, so please 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 check it out.
Awesome. We'll make sure it's there. Thank you so much
Thanks,
for spending
Leslie.
time with me today. It was such a pleasure.
This has been a Category of One podcast. If this resonated with you, please share, subscribe, or leave a review. I appreciate you.